Just have to push the button.
Easy to Lovecraft, they dish the facts. Lightsabers clash and case on their backs. Xenomorphs lurking, Gotham's dark alleys. With every episode, the fandom rallies. The first to last, the Nerdom with Mike and Tom. Dropping nerd knowledge like an atom bomb. Discussing the cosmic, the scary, the epic. Tune in, strap in, it's all real, authentic. Galaxies far, far, horrors chilling on. From Krypton to Hogwarts, always explored. Panels and pages, heroes and stages, worlds colliding, they know all the phases. Wicked X-Wings and Daleks that scream, phantom zones and vampire dreams. Multiverse open and ready to storm. Mike and Tom in the lab, setting the norm.
Welcome to this week's First Last Nerdom. And this episode, we have a jam-packed show for you today. We're going back to our roots and hitting up some really, really great comic book reads, which Tom had flagged down. Of course he did months ago. Absolute Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. What do these releases mean for the future of DC's iconic heroes? We'll explore that and more. Then we shift gears to discuss the recent turmoil in the comic book world, including Diamond's bankruptcy and the serious allegations that have surfaced against Neil Gaiman. And with that, I am ML, and here's my wonderful co-host Tom.
Yep, I'm here in the lab, as our song says, cooking up some stuff with you.
I'm sorry, that's
definitely.
I find that hilarious. I love that. I love our theme. So as I said, we're
everything from E.T. to Lovecraft.
Yes, sir. Yes,
as
sir.
they say.
Yeah.
Last week we talked about Lost Highway with David Lynch. It was kind of emotional journey. The movie starts with a song by David Bowie, with images filmed by David Lynch, and it was the first time I'd seen it since they both had passed away, and it really hit me hit me hard. I was at the comic book shop Saturday, and that was one of the things I brought up was that we did the episode and how hard that opening credits kind of took me. If that movie means as much as it does to you and me, you might want to check out that video we put together.
Yeah, and that was probably one of our longer ones too. And we spent equal parts reminiscing about Dave Lynch and also talking very in depth about the movie. Wonderful. That was a very fun one. We will probably be doing a couple other ones like that as we because I know David Lynch was a really impactful creator, and I agree. But with that being said, we'll move on here to our Bonafides. You can always find us on YouTube at the FirstLastNerdom, where we are breaking. Oh, we this will be 241. But last one. It's apropos that our 240th was David Lynch. Remembering David Lynch and Lost Highway 2. But we're always coming at you with new ones. We're up to 417 for subscribers. We're on the rebound on the plus side of that for once for a little bit, so that's nice. So we thank you very much.
We did pick up a couple of people, so that's very nice.
Absolutely. Yes,
new subscribers. Hopefully you'll stay with us for a little while.
Yeah, we thank you so much for joining us and subscribing. As always, we love to have feedback, and with that you can talk back to us or have a conversation if you wish. And I'll let you take it over from there for this. What is this thing called Reddit?
Yeah, you can see me wandering around on Reddit and various subreddits at FirstLastNerdom, and I also mind our store on the X front at FirstLastNerdom as well, and you can see our latest and greatest video links as well on there. And I'm always talking about something on there, nerd related. So check us out there.
Absolutely. I also join you on X, so you can absolutely have a conversation with me and Tom as it goes. We would love to have a longer form. Of course, you could always have a conversation with us in the YouTube comments or feedback anywhere, or post. I believe that there's a YouTube. We seldom post there, but there's a community tab there. There's a community tab for everywhere because it's all social media. With that, I am ApeIt_Ink. I also run a little publication on the more serious side, longer form side. Sometimes I make videos on my personal YouTube channel, or write about it, more importantly, up here. And that one, I actually had one of the people that I follow on X, more on the news, current events, political side. He went through surgery, and he said that he got to see Civil War, and it really broke. He had a very positive outlook on it. So I thought that was cool, and of course I had very high praise. I think you were a little somewhere quite a bit just a little bit lower than that, but all the same, always like to find new things. But with that, and I also wanted to plug like what Tom said. He said at the top of the show, go check out our latest Remembering Lost Highway and David Lynch, as well as the one before that, which was us covering Nosferatu. A little bit before that, we did the Warrior as well. So we've been hitting some major ones too. But this week, I didn't really have any great ones to pull up, so we're just gonna have to go with this as we go into this, and I'll try to find the official kind of comic booky characters here. I wanted to say, which one did you want to tackle first here? Because we're talking about of course we're talking about the Holy Trinity. And I think you like to kind of start out with, if I were in your shoes and I was doing this, I would probably bring up the creators, because you're so great about that, and what they're doing in these using Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and to kind of set the stage, with DC and Marvel, they both do like big epic kind of chain wide storylines, and it all started off on the tail end of the last big epic story. Forget the name of it, but was with Amanda Waller. She sort of took over the DC universe for a little while there, and was stealing various powers of the superheroes, and so the big bridging gap between it and this was the All In comic book. Let me see if I can find that link for you. But yeah, it's All In, and I believe it was co-written by Mark Waid, and it kind of told of the story of Darkseid. He kind of started his own kind of multiverse, which is what we're going to be focusing on in Absolute, is the kind of darker multiverse that he kind of created. And in the comic book, he kind of dies within it, and with the creation of this multiverse. And yeah, here we go.
So I just brought up the generic DC here that just kind of gives the kind of sets the stage for the precursor to these three that we're going to cover today.
There we go.
And of course, this is like 6 months into this initiative or so. A little bit early for 6 months, but around 6 months or so. October wasn't all that far away. Yeah, let me pull that in, and I'll put that up front and center here. Yeah, this is the same thing. Okay, yeah, this has the great
DC All In. Yeah,
yeah, the ongoing series DC Universe. Okay, there. So that's the precursor. That was the roll up.
Leads into everything.
Okay, and then that,
and it's written by Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson. Sorry, okay. I was wrong on that. And there's like several different comic books that are under the umbrella of All In, so it's potentially a good time to jump in on your favorite superhero. It's they're relaunching a lot of the titles, like JSA, Justice Society of America. It's being relaunched with Jeff Lemire, who is
Okay.
like a huge writer in the in comic books in general, but in DC he's a big guy, and also Ram V. He's also in the New Gods. He's restarted that. Al Ewing, who is best probably known for Hulk, Immortal Hulk. He's also has come over to DC
DC.
and is writing a Metamorpho, the Element Man as well. But like I said, we're kind of looking at the multiverse revisioning of Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman.
Yeah. Yes, sir. We are. Where did the hell did I just had them. all the absolute ones here. Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for. I thought so. Yeah. So this was all predicated early in October last year, where it kicked off. You were already way ahead of the curve and had already kind of read one or two of these. You actually, I think, talked about it in passing too in the last 4 or 5 months, whatever it's been. Not quite 6 months, but we had Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And I guess we can just kind of tackle them one at a time and kind of just go through. Now, up to this point, they're basically been a monthly release, essentially, is what the pacing has been, which is kind of nice because it really does give you time to read it and absorb it, or go back and catch up when they're all done. But I believe they're going out to 5 or so, or whatever it may be. Maybe
I think all of them have 3 issues out. I think Wonder Woman
4.
has the fourth of that.
Somebody had a
came
5th
out,
one.
I think last week. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the 5th one will be okay. So it wherever they end it, maybe 5, maybe whatever. But we won't know until we're there. I guess I don't know. I'm not as hip, so you can correct me there if I'm wrong. But we can start with Batman. And we're up to 4 or so. And but the first one,
it's the epic return of Scott Snyder on Batman.
I knew
you may previously know him as the creator of the Court of Owls. He introduced us to the Court of Owls, so he's one of those legendary Batman writers that's returning with this new take on him. With a little bit of controversy with the artist new rendering of the bat on the chest. Some people like it, some people don't. I actually dig it. I kind of like it. It's interesting. I have to say, it's a unique take each time on each of the new characters. Batman, he's a little darker than we remember him, but he's not like pitch dark. He's not like the Dark Knight. He's a bit younger. I would say
24
in this universe. He's got an edge on his shoulder. He's got things to prove. But yeah, and he does it with a lot of style as well.
Yeah, he has he is not billionaire. The Waynes, it's a completely different work, blue collar, working man's kind of vibe. That gives it that grit, and we see that he has a bat axe that and his cape can kind of do some extra special things as far as folding and engineer origami kind of thing, which is cool. I was gonna say, and
he's got like his dad is the one that dies. His mom is very much alive in this world. So it kind of gives a different kind of angle to Batman. It's his he has father issues.
His mom is a social worker and his dad was a teacher, right? I believe. But yeah, he definitely has some some different origins than that, some different psychological drives than our Bruce Wayne, for sure. They atomize this too, and you're introduced to Alfred as well, and he has a little bit of a different role the very first time where you're introduced to this new Batman, and this new Batman is younger and he strikes a lot harder, and he operates a little bit. He's not afraid of guns either. I'll
No.
put that.
No, which, if you remember, well, neither one of us was reading Batman back in the 30s, but back then, Batman wasn't opposed to wielding a gun on the in the pages of Batman. So
Right.
I think it was Detective Comics at the time. So yeah, it's like I said, it's an interesting take on Batman. It's very exciting. I was very much excited for this because it was being written by Scott Snyder, so I was all in as DC was promoting it. I was less so with. I'm not as big a Superman fan as you were. You
Mhm.
are. So I'm kind of interested in seeing your take on Superman.
We can hop over to Superman. Yeah, so I like it. I think at first I wasn't too sure, but as the story's kind of gone on, it's gotten a little bit better. Whereas like I feel like Batman started stronger, and it's kind of maybe getting a little bit more distant. But that's not a bad criticism at all. Every story arc has its rise and fall, and of course we're kind of doing this before it's all wrapped up, but these things take
Hmm.
months. But as far as Superman goes, I was just looking at my notes. My thoughts on it. He's more socialist Superman. I don't know how to say. It still works. Basically you find out that his parents are there's a caste system essentially on Krypton, and it took a little bit for me to kind of get into that because Batman's story is very interesting, and so is Wonder Woman's. We'll cover that a little bit later on. But Superman's is kind of it's kind of like we kind of already know what's going to happen with Krypton. So why
Yeah.
do I care about this so much? But they have to kind of set the tone. So I thought it kind of started out a little weaker, in my opinion, but it got progressively better as the story goes forward. So you kind of get a little bit more sympathy, and a little bit more patience with the Superman storyline, in my opinion. But I don't think it's the
Yeah,
best ever. But it has me interested, and my curiosity peaked to see where it's going to go. So I didn't think it started out so great. Although the artwork I think was fantastic, I just don't think the setup. But that's my opinion, and I'm a little bit more. I'm
yeah.
probably a little bit more jaded on Superman stories than I am on Wonder Woman's or whatever. But anyway, you kind of get this. Maybe socialist is too strong of a word, but you get this very strong union, collective kind of vibe, where we're looking out for each other. Not in positive ways, I suppose. Not kind of like, oh, you're a commie. It's not like that. I think that's too far. I think that's grossly oversimplifying it. But for that, it's very interesting how it strikes that tone with him. But what I'll let you bring us back to Wonder Woman, because I think we're probably gonna have the same opinion on this, as far as like when we kind of get into like our favorites or details or whatever. Just because
Yeah.
just a little bit more interesting to me. Of the two, if you were to ask me between which one is more interesting, I'd probably say the Batman one would be just a few notches higher. What would you think on the
Yeah.
On the Superman side?
Again, the of the three, The solid writer is Scott Snyder with Batman. Jason Aaron, who is big in the comic book world, he's writing Absolute Superman, which he also wrote the I think Action Comics with Superman as well. And we can't get go too far without mentioning the artist Nick Dragotta. He's on Batman, and Rafa Sandoval, who's on Superman. He gives a different look to Superman. Like you said, he it's more of a more of a kind of a social Superman, which he's very active with his parents in the story. Which I find, I think the family dynamic is the most engaging thing
Mm-hmm.
of Absolute Superman. The whole, I think the first issue kind of looks at Superman kind of from afar, with like the rebels kind of rallying around Superman in the story, and
Mm-hmm.
I was less interested in the rebels as opposed to Superman. I wanted to know about Superman, and so that story wasn't as engaging. But when they flash over to Superman's world of Krypton, that's when I was really engaged with the story. I really enjoyed. I am enjoying it, and also we're being introduced to his super dog as well,
True.
which actually was. I've been enjoying Crypto as well. I'm not usually a big dog fan,
I
but
think
yeah, it's
I think it helps to sell it a little bit better, but it softens it a little bit more. But yeah, I just it just kind of when you see the Superman, the storyline, but that's where I like the artwork a lot. With the Rafa's, he did he was absolutely fantastic, and shame on
yeah,
them
he
for
does
not
a lot
having
of
a.
heavy lifting. Yeah.
But
Yeah, and the one I was least anticipating, but it turns out to be my favorite so far, is
mhm.
Absolute Wonder Woman, by Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman. Hayden, I'm not really familiar with as far as his art, but it's really, really engaging to me. And Kelly Thompson has never lit me on fire as far as her writing, but with Absolute Wonder Woman, this is a Wonder Woman from hell as opposed to
Mm.
where she from the Amazons. And I was very, very engaged with this from the very beginning. And I read it originally digitally, and then I had to have physical
That's so
copies of it.
funny.
And the guy that one of the guys I buy comics books from, he goes, "You have to tell me how you like Absolute Wonder Woman once you read it, because it was his favorite as well." So.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kapow Comics that I get my comics from. Yeah, it's heavily endorsed by them as well.
Yeah. I agree. Her storyline is really the most compelling. The only thing that she was raised by Circe in hell, and after Zeus wiped out the Amazon. That's this first, Anyway, it's just fun as you go through it. It's the more mature storyline.
Mhm.
I'm interested to see.
It's
Right.
it's the darkest, but it's also has the most light to it as well. It's Wonder Woman's spirit that kind of shines through the darkness on this, which I find really engaging. Maybe the villains that she faces in this aren't as interesting, or she's able to overcome them a little bit without the adversity that maybe she could have, but the art just wins me over again and again.
I
And
agree
the solid writing, there's an interesting take on her love interest in the story,
with Steve.
um, which I find, yeah,
Right.
Steve is there, but yeah, and I was less engaged with the take on Lois in Absolute Superman, as opposed to Steve and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she's yeah. it's kind of. I mean, you accept that that Lois Lane is naturally independent and fierce anyway, because it's Lois Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Lois Lane is not just the atypical damsel in distress, and we've seen that since the Christopher Reeve Superman, up through varying iterations of worse performances of Lois, maybe if not up to their fullest extent, all the way out to very independent. But she's the corporate enforcer. Anyway, it's a little bit more convoluted for me, and kind of difficult to kind of swap those out. But I guess it works as background because you're not spending too much time on that part of the storyline. That I agree. The more interesting and compelling one of the three is surprisingly is Wonder Woman. I just wonder what's going to happen with Big Foe. And are we going to be able to hold down, hold down the thing? Because, we'll see. But
and both Absolute Batman came out on October 9th. Absolute Wonder Woman came out October 23rd, and November 6th when Absolute Superman came out.
That's right.
Again, I caught up on Absolute Wonder Woman a few issues in, which the third printing of Wonder Woman had just came out, and I got the that cover right there, the one without the logo or anything. It's just her on the skeletal Pegasus, kind of a shiny cover version of a kind of variant. Which I was very happy. It's a very nice comic book. But yeah, so
Nice.
if you're interested in this storyline on any three, I'm sure they'll be collected in graphic novels. But if you want to get out there and get the single issues, there's new copies of all of those out there on the press. So you can go out there and buy these comics on the shelf.
Yeah, I had read all of these digitally as well. But I actually Saturday I went out and I went out again because I was hoping they would have reprints out, and I was able to scoop up 85% of them. I still have like a couple that I need to get here or there, but it's nice to see
next month Absolute Flash comes out in March. So and it's being written by Jeff Lemire. Again, he's also writing JSA. So if you're at all interested in JSA or the Flash, definitely get that because Jeff Lemire's one of the premier writers in the comic book field. And DC is very good to have landed him to write JSA. Which Jeff Johns finished up his run on JSA as well, which was a very good run. It was marred with the release schedule. It wasn't. I think it was months in between issues, and I don't know if that was because of DC or if it was because Jeff Johns is relaunching his big line Ghost Machine on Image, which I did a independent video on the relaunch of the various titles with Redcoat, Geiger, and a couple other titles from there. Which if you're not reading Ghost Machine, definitely check that out as well. It's alive and healthy in the indie comic book realm. Of course, we're kind of skirting the kind of comic book world here, but yeah, DC's very much large and in charge right now with Absolute.
Yeah. We have good duo teams from Thompson to Sherman on Wonder Woman, like we just talked about. And I was just gonna say. I wanted the Batman, Scott Snyder and bear with me here, and Nick. Nick did work on East West, or East of West. I think I was mixed that up, but anyway, a great artwork, and that shows through. So not to say that the Batman artwork, I didn't really talk too much about it, but it was very great. I appreciate it very much. Very in line with that. It kind of gets a little messy with a lot of stuff going on, but for the most part, it's pretty clean. But for
Yeah,
like,
and
oh, go ahead.
I will also mention the Batman titles, both Batman and Detective Comic books. Yeah, are both being published as well. Chip Zdarsky is the writer on Batman, which he's kind of had kind of a rough go of it. Some of his storylines have been kind of hit and miss, but right now it's been pretty solid. And Tom Taylor has taken over from Ram V on Detective Comics, and I have to say I'm not a huge Tom Taylor fan, but this storyline of Detective Comics is well worth checking out. Torin Groundbeck has taken over on Catwoman, which is very good so far. Very good take on Catwoman. She's on the run in Europe right now. Also, Batman and Robin's being written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, which is awesome right now. Action Comics has been written by Mark Waid, which, if you know anything about Mark Waid, he's kind of a bit of a villain in the comic book world, but he's a solid writer. So if you want to check out more Superman, you wouldn't go wrong with Action Comic. As well. Also, The Flash is being written by Simon Spurrier right now, which he's doing a really good job on. There's also Green Arrow that's out right now. Nightwing looks like it's being written by Dan Waters, which I haven't tried out. Joshua Williamson's on the Superman line, but I've have been reading JSA, which is by Jeff Lemire. I have started the New Gods, which is actually pretty good with
Okay.
Ram V. Mark Waid is also writing Justice League Unlimited, which has been pretty good so far. I did try out both Aquaman and Green Lantern, which is both being written by Jeremy Adams, which Jeremy Adams is one of the greats as far as comic book writers. So he's also doing a run on Flash Gordon, which is really good as well.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
and DC has a DC Go, which is kind of a smaller form factor of comic books. I noticed they reprinted Watchmen for the umpteenth time in a sort of the smaller version of it, kind of
okay.
almost like a kind of a large size paperback. So yeah, and then they also
Oh,
did
the $12.99
the
comic that I saw on the stand when I went to the comic book. Okay, that
mhm.
explains what the
Yeah,
heck that
and
is. That's kind of
yeah,
cool.
and if
That's
you
kind
want
of
to
cool.
see what Scott Snyder did with Court of Owls, that's actually collected as well in that form factor, and that, you can't go wrong with Court of Owls. One of the best storylines for Batman. You if you haven't ever read Court of Owls, you are
Oh, it's
missing
really
out.
good. It is one of the premier Batman stories that you should check out. Up there with Frank Miller
Hmm.
and other Golden Age Batman, etc. It definitely belongs on your library of storylines to pick from for sure. Yeah, that's man. That's well, now I want to read that. Get sidetracked here.
Yeah, it's I one of the things I did touch upon at the comic book shop is, like I said, all the great stuff is sort of like going on in the multiverse, like the Absolute series. All of those titles are really good, and then also in Marvel, they're kind of relaunching their multiverse with Ultimates, and you can't go wrong with Ultimate Black Panther or Ultimate Spider-Man. Actually, I went to the comic book shop the other day and I picked up Ultimate Spider-Man, written by John Hickman. Which, if you haven't been reading
Yeah, Flash the
Marvel,
Spider Man again.
this
Or
is Yeah, this is the newest
Okay,
with
nice.
his version of Craven.
Ultimate.
Awesome, awesome. Him Craven's hunting Spider-Man and Green Goblin, which is Harry Osborn in this universe.
Interesting.
And also
I've heard that.
this was the a few issues back. We'll be talking about Diamond here in a minute.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
just recently got the physical copy of this because it was lost due to Diamond. I did pick up Red Coat, which I was talking about earlier with Jeff Johns and the Image
Right
in his
on.
Ghost Machine. This is a solid comic book. My favorite on Jeff Johns right now. But he's also has Hornsby and Halo. And I also picked up Gatchaman, which is the comic book version of that Japanese anime from
Right
back in the day,
on.
back in the 70s, which I am. That was my big my first anime I was really into.
Right on. Yeah, well,
when
it
it
sounds
first
like
came out.
you had a hell of a haul. Well, that the Ultimate Spider-Man Marvel Ultimate was coming up as like a good current trend to read out there in the mainstream thing, and then of course Absolute too. Um, I was going to ask you a question about Superman, but I just
Yeah,
couldn't.
if you're either into DC or Marvel at this time, there's some really
Something
good
for
stuff out
you.
there to read.
Yeah, I was going to
So if
say
you lean one way or the other, which I've always been like a more of a Marvel guy. I think you're more of a DC guy, but yeah, with Batman, I'm always 100% there
I
for Batman.
I don't necessarily have a default per se, but because I wibble and wobble throughout the years of going to the comic
Hmm.
book and if there's not something there to show up, unless I'm rolling in for like some other storyline that I'm trying to track down, I might. But or if it's on the bubble, like we've been kind of tossing this thing around for a couple last few weeks. And we got a chance to get caught up on them, but this kind of reminded me. It kind of gave me a little bit of like Schneider's grit, a little bit with Superman. I don't know what like social Superman with a little bit of with a little
Hmm.
bit of Snyder cut grit. What say you?
Yeah, yeah. When comic books known for like when like say when the Deadpool and Wolverine came out, there wasn't like they did actually have a solid Deadpool Wolverine comic book coming out at the time, but a lot of times like when a big Avengers movie come out,
Right.
the Avengers wouldn't be recognizable. It would have a bunch of characters that aren't recognizable. So they don't do a very good job of self promoting. So because you just see the newest Avengers movie and you want to read the newest comic book and it's nowhere near what you read would want to read. Actually, with the Superman movie coming out, you wouldn't go too wrong without if you picked up Absolute Superman. It does have the spirit of Superman, if not the exact Superman that we're talking about here.
Yeah,
Which actually sent you an article there, did I?
I did want to say as a segue, in a way, the new Absolute Superman does channel Siegel and Schuster's working class roots, and as we go from one to the other here to the news, because I knew we had to cover this because Superman is out there, not just Absolute in print. There's a good version of that out there. Also, the regular Superman also, I think you said this in passing as well. It's also, well, you mentioned Detective Comics, but the Action Comics you mentioned is also fairly decent as well. Good quality. But we haven't really talked, we didn't do a trailer uh, uh, playthrough or reaction video. But I guess we might as well catch up on that too a little bit. But yeah, so and we've covered this over the years, like where sadly the estates have to keep
Yeah.
suing in order to, because if they don't fight for their rights, then it's one project away from making it infinitely harder for them to get on the board and even file a lawsuit or whatever. So what do you take
Yeah,
this? What you
unfortunately, a
found
lot of
this?
the creators get a pittance of the money that they really should be getting, which it looks like they're one of Schuster. His estate is
Yeah,
suing over the new Superman movie,
right.
which it's all legal stuff. We don't know a whole lot we're not the the internet's Nick Rekieta, so we don't know all the ins and outs of this legal issue. But yeah, it looks like Warner Brothers has got to kind of fight over the international rights of Superman, at least. Which if it gets money, more money to the family of the creators, more power to them. I'm sure they
Right.
probably deserve the money that's coming their way. Um, but yeah, also on the I also sent you an article on Diamond Comics.
Oh yeah.
If you go to the local comic book shop, you might not find the latest and greatest comic books. I've been finding it in the past few weeks. The comics that are being distributed by Diamond are continually late. One of the channels I love watching is Comic Book Palace, which is a comic book shop called Comic Book Palace. He does
Hmm.
a comic book channel on YouTube, and he kind of showcases the new comic books each week. And yeah, he's running into the same thing where Diamond is late, continually late on
Hmm.
their comics as well. Which new comic book day is Wednesday, but a lot of times half my comic books aren't there because Diamond's late yet again.
Yeah,
Which they're going through bankruptcy
right. Yeah,
right now.
they got their creditors. Penguin House, or Penguin
Mhm,
Random House is one of their largest creditors with that 9 million that
mhm.
that is owed 9 million to them from Diamond. And this is kind of
Yeah,
the thing. If they can even stay intact to have enough payroll to keep keep the never
yeah,
mind keeping the lights on, keeping enough people in there to actually push out a bare minimum amount of orders, because they're already kind of very well, they're already full swing. It's just that they're not profitable, obviously, and you got to pay Peter. You can only rob Peter, pay Paul, or vice versa, so long.
yeah. And Diamond kind of shot themselves in the foot. If you remember back during pandemic times, Diamond said, "Hey, guys, there's a pandemic going on. We're shutting house for a few months, and you're not getting your comic books," which killed a lot of the comic book shops. And it also allowed for DC to jump out of their contract with Diamond. Diamond had an ironclad lock on the comic book world, and one of the clauses was if the people can back out of their contract if they are late by 2 weeks on a comic book, and they were. So DC has been distributed, I believe, by Luna since pandemic times, and Marvel has stepped away from Diamond as well. Diamond is still like a big supplier of indie comics, so if Diamond does disappear, a lot of the indie comics will disappear with them, which is a sad state of affairs. But it's
Well,
Diamond sort of kind of did it to themselves.
I mean, you also had Black Panel Press launch a GoFundMe to cover 20,000. They're like a smaller, even smaller name than the other ones that you mentioned, but they were trying to cover 28 grand by Diamond for author royalties and printing.
and
We'll see. We'll see.
and talk about comic book drama. We've kind of danced around it, but Neil Gaiman, have you been reading the awful stuff that he's been
Yeah,
alleged to have done.
I didn't queue it up here, but I believe I have there. I'll just kind of throw in the general news story here. But
Yep.
yeah, so there's been some allegations that
Yep.
he did some no things with the
Yeah,
female sex.
a lot of sexual abuse allegations
Yeah,
from various women.
SA. Yeah,
Um, from what I actually I didn't actually read the big Washington Post article that came out, but um what's his name? Ethan Van Sciver actually read the entire article online, which I watched that on his YouTube channel. Which it kind of breaks down to maybe he said she said a lot of it, and a lot of it
right,
there's like um uh you know uh direct messages between some of the people that some of the women that are making allegations that kind of balances out what Neil is saying, that he thought it was mutual, whereas a lot of the women thought he was taking advantage of them, if
mm,
not sexually assaulting them. So a lot of it outside my legal mind seems a lot of it seems to be she said he said stuff. Which he's a legend in the comic
right,
book world. Sandman is one of the biggest comic books out there. It's one of those comic books that have meant a lot to me as a burgeoning comic book fan back in the 80s.
right.
That was one of those powerhouse comic books that I absolutely loved, and Neil Gaiman is one of my heroes. I will say his shine kind of tarnished just a little bit. I'd recently listened to an audio version of one of his short story collections, and he read the book, and he does like the introductions to each of the short stories. And the one of the things I took away from that is that this guy is sniffing his own farts. He's like way more into himself than I am, and it kind of turned me off a little bit to the short story collection, because the stories were really decent stories, but he was blowing them up like there was no tomorrow, and it really kind of turned me off. So I my shine to Neil Gaiman kind of started to wear off a little bit, and so when these allegations came out, can't say I was too surprised that he would see himself as a master to these damaged women, that he kind of had a master slave sort of a sexual relationship with these women. It's a lot more than I really wanted to know about Neil Gaiman's sexual life, and it's also probably more than he wanted to get out there, which has really damaged his name. The only publisher that hasn't kind of taken a stand against him is DC, which is understandable, because they still have the Sandman universe that had just been publishing comic books under for John Constantine in the Sandman world just a
Right,
few months ago. So
right, right.
yeah, I can see why they're kind of quiet on it. But Netflix has just recently said that the second season of Sandman will be the last season of
Okay, that's what
Sandman,
that
and they're
article
cutting
that I had
ties.
found.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cutting ties with Neil Gaiman.
yeah. Well, this kind of goes back to where the American comic book scene, and if Jay were, if our occasional special guest Jay were here, he has a few things to say on American comics and criticism, but that are absolutely valid, and should be talked about. But it kind of goes into like kind of that weird space that it's in. It's not necessarily in. I guess it could be argued if it was in a healthy space, but it's still is very reliant upon legacy structures that they're, whether it's a Neil Gaiman or it's a uh, you know pick or choose your poison of who you're going to bring back. That was on the no list, maybe, or maybe it wasn't quite a blacklist. It was more a gray list, and they just kind of have to sit out their time and time out and until they can kind of come back. But I wish the best for him. Like I agree with you. Like it gets really annoying when you have these know-it-alls and you're trying to tell me something, and you get involved in that, and it gets very annoying. It's not even political. It's just like really boring, bland things. And when these people land in on them as if they are a cultural authority or some kind of a elite, it turns people off in general. And it doesn't matter what you are over here. If you go over there and you want to hang out with those people on that side of the aisle or the other side, it doesn't really matter. It gets to the point to like where it doesn't feel like you're respecting me anymore, even though you're given due respect. But you're not the end all be all of these things. So
I think the funniest thing I have been enjoying is Neil Gaiman back in the 2016. He was very much a prominent feminist, and he was one of the forefront of the people that was shouting out "Believe all women," and and now with the allegations, he's like, believe all women except for these liars over here.
Well, I just don't recall that happening over there. And to be fair, in his own words, he gives a very nebulous, like, I kind of remember half this stuff, but not how they say it. It was
right. Yeah, it's I just like the contradiction, so to speak, on Neil's take. Where it's believe all women except for these rotten liars.
right.
But with all things, I think it's best to take kind of a nuanced take on things, and when you take a hard line on something, sometimes it comes back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah, well, and I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows? But at the same, it doesn't matter because he's going to have to take a step away for a while, whether he wants to or not. It sounds like he's maybe not in bad territory like a Justin Roiland, and maybe if he just kind of sits in the freezer for a while, he might be able to come back in some kind of way. But like a Justin Roiland is, that's like boop and then boom and then you're out, you're done. But that was a little bit more entangled than that. From what to be fair, Neil Gaiman could hold his liquor. Or apparently wasn't over the moon with drugs or alcohol or something like that kind of is a crutch or an excuse for these kind of things. But of course he's taken the whole 100% denial route. So, which you can. That's his side. So,
I think in the comic book world, I think Warren Ellis got the worst deal. I think I think his stuff that I looked over, it kind of came down to him just being an asshole to women in general. And then he got canceled. Which he went on and is writing music with Hope Sandoval of Mazzy Star, so he's doing quite well for himself in the realm of music. He kind of stepped away from comic books. So Neil Gaiman, a lot of his publishers, and like I said, Netflix has parted ways with him. Prime Video, who has both Good Omens and Anasazi Boys. I think both of those shows are either. I think Anasazi Boys has gotten canceled, and I think Good Omens is wrapping up. So I think Neil is probably going to be forced out of comic books and writing for the foreseeable future, if not on his own. Which he's not hurting for the bucks. I think the worst allegations were that he some of the sexual abuse took place in front of his kid according his son, according to one of the alleged victims.
Hmm.
So I think that's the most egregious thing. So if there is some legal ramifications for Neil, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, I think that's the most egregious thing that I saw within this is the maybe the middle mental damage that his son has suffered from all of this.
Yeah, all major publishers or media houses are all saying, they're saying no, thank you to this. So
Yeah.
whether it's right or wrong or true or false,
Hmm.
if this is something that is, that these are false allegations, now the time would be to lawyer up and start defamation
Hmm.
suits, if that were Neil Gaiman. But um, uh, who knows? If I were him, and your reputation is just being shredded, and none of this stuff is true, and you can, you know, present your side of it forward and do it, now's the time to do it. But I haven't heard or seen anything like that aside from, and maybe this is just his ego, that he can just, maybe he's not understanding the gravity of what this is to him. I don't know, but to just have a naked, post out of like, well, I mean, I get it, but it's not a fun place to be if you're if you're Neil. But maybe one day he can come back or prove his whatever. But it is what it is. So
Yeah,
that's kind of
yeah.
the
No,
downer.
those people that are huge fans of Neil, you still have his work. I mean, if you're a big Sandman comic book person, you can kind of disassociate the work from the author. I know for the past crimes of the author, of course, you kind of have to weigh that mentally on your own.
Mm,
But I could still. I think in a year or two can go back to Sandman and appreciate it for what it is,
yeah.
as opposed to who Neil is as a person.
Well,
But yeah.
I would also caution the audience to be aware of hit pieces that may on the surface seem like they're objective or whatever, but then they drag in nonsense that has nothing to do with the thing at all. Like where this one is talking about J.K. Rowling. What the hell does that have to do with? It's just kind of like. But then again, this is NPR, so it's not like you would go to NPR for your 100% on the
Yeah.
ground. You would go to a variety or what. Anyway, whatever. But yeah, maybe we'll see what happens. Time will tell. It's not very very happy note.
Mhm.
But and Diamond, hopefully they can figure their thing out, and maybe they can come to agreement with the people that they owe money to, and and
Yeah.
maybe they could pay the bill. But
Absolutely. So yeah, if you go to your local comic book shop, hopefully they have the newest comic books. And if you do want to pick up some comic books, you can't go wrong with the Absolute line, the All In on DC. Definitely check out both you know Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Again, all solid titles. So if you're big into Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman, you can't go too wrong with them. And like I said, they're relaunching like Aquaman. I know
mhm.
I have a friend that's a huge Aquaman fan, so I was telling him to check out Jeremy Adams' relaunch of Aquaman. So it's a good time to start picking up your DC comics if you're a big into their comics. It's a good time to go all in on DC and read some titles.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was going to say, as we wrap up here, we'll just do the quick spin out here and then we'll do the play out. We're the First
Hmm.
Last Nerdom. You can find us on YouTube at First Last Nerdom. Thanks to Tom for shortening that albatross of too many does. And I'll hand it off to you for the Reddit scene, social media.
Yep. Yeah, you can check me out on First Last Nerdom on Reddit and also on X by the same name. I'll be promoting our latest and greatest videos. Again, this is it's been a while since we covered comic books. It's been I'm glad you recommended us doing this comic book cover because yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, and you have some socials as well.
I do, yeah. I also am on X if you want to catch me there. ApeIt_Ink, as well as my longer form publication where I take on the heavier side of life or opinionated stuff, that kind of thing, at ApeIt.Ink. As always, we are here to serve you. We love every one of you that shows up here. If you made it this far, we appreciate it so much. If you could share us out, no matter where you find us, whether it's a short or a longer form, we'll always be here for you. And I've been
Yeah,
Mike.
whether you're an AI person out there that's hitting us up, or if you're an actual real person and enjoy our channel, let us know what you're reading at the local comic book shop, and get our comments active again. We love to hear from you guys.
For sure. I've been Mike.
And I'm Tom.